It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha, it's Feedback Friday. And this Feedback Friday is going to have to be real quick because this is a super busy week and I just have had no time to record anything. I've been booked solid, which is a good problem to have. It's just, for the purposes of video content, difficult to parse the feedback and really focus on, a lot. So again, I've sort of primed some stuff that I think is kind of important, and I'm putting it out there just as a sampler. So if you like this content, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who uses it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. A lot of people have asking me this week, how are you? Because it's kind of hard to hide some of the shit that goes on in my life. And I don't want to hide it, right? Like, and this is what really speaks to me when I hear guys struggling with society wanting them to be the fake stoic, not the real stoic. I don't want to have to hide when I've had a shit week. That doesn't mean people have to avoid me. That doesn't mean I'm at the end of my rope. It's just, this is how things are going. And when you have a condition where people get to know you well enough to hit one of your triggers and you tell them, now it's sort of been an up and down couple of weeks because when you get triggered, then you're more susceptible to, you're more hyper reactive. So stuff that's bothersome but not triggering a physiological response can actually physically trigger a response. And some people have been really great and they've cared, and other people I have told and they have had their head too far up their own ass to act like they give a shit. And those are the points where the old me would have tried to either pick a fight with them or people please. And now I'm just like, dead to me. Like, it costs nothing to care, And when someone gives you the gift of saying they are struggling or saying something hurt or saying something like that, and that you've expressed caring to them and they just can't do it, there's not many places to go in those relationships. And I do think that, as this one commenter said, it's a real quick comment, so those are good. Not that I don't love the long comments. It's just, in something like this where I'm limited time, these work. Grifters and social media have sold us, men in particular, a bill of goods in the form of pseudoscience that keeps us fighting with each other and them getting rewarded by algorithms. It's disgusting to see people parroting talking points from these BS artists because no one taught them how to interact with other people. And it's true that interacting with other people is a learned skill. And most people learn by mimicry. If you're not in a situation where you were allowed to learn healthy habits by mimicry, it's not impossible. It's just you have to consciously learn. And unfortunately, I think a lot of these guys do get preyed on by, not just grifters, but various algorithms, the dating app algorithms, the YouTube algorithm, the TikTok algorithm. What you got to keep in mind about online algorithms is they don't think, they just give you stuff you've already seen. They give you more of the stuff you've already watched. And my algorithm is garbage because I mostly watch stuff that, either I have to watch to discuss with a client, or I tend to read I read papers. I don't watch a YouTube video for information because not because I don't think there are a lot of great ones out there. It's that if I watch a YouTube video, I have to double check everything in the video. So I might as well just go to the original papers and just save myself some time. But it is really, it's frustrating to see so much loneliness. It's frustrating to see people in preventable pain. And seeing the people out there that are so isolated, that don't want to be, that, they're in this position through no fault of their own. When someone is just pulling shit with me, I have no fucking patience for it anymore. And, that's where I have to sit with and go, should I be more patient? And it's like, why? I want to have the energy and the patience for the people that are putting in the work and who give and take and who express sincere concern and who aren't, who respect other people's boundaries, not people who are just flashier and better at getting attention. And unfortunately, the extraction process from people like that is really, really rough. And then it's a question of, and, again, heterosexual men have to deal with that. Somebody else put it in a very, very interesting way. It was kind of poetic. And thank you to the commenter that said they didn't like Olivia at first either. I am enjoying Trails of the Sky a lot. I am really liking that game. But one person said, modern affirmations, in all honesty, seem to admire the feminine as the great hedonistic receiver. Totally unsustainable. Men having needs too has been so grossly ignored by pop feminism, and I'm so happy to see it being touched on. Thank you. And the interesting thing is, the feminine is the great hedonistic receiver is a really, really well put. That expresses everywhere in like gift giving, in, fashion being overall flashier. The, men approach, women are approached. But even things like victimhood. It's such a trap. And, for someone like me who really didn't have a choice, I first entered therapy when I was 15 years old. And to get branded as a victim and to see people tiptoe around you and deny you opportunities and not even ask because, we didn't want to upset you. We didn't want to stress you out, right? I see how trapped that gets you. And I worked so damn hard to get out of that hole. It is exceptionally frustrating to see so many women just welcome that shit. And I don't think they really realize it, And the hedonistic receiver means the men are the hedonistic sender, which is true, right? It's that disposability thing. Just produce. And that's the trap I fell into after, I went so far the other way after people treating me like I was made of glass, and it was humiliating. And so I went the other way of tough guy. Right. And it was, no, I'm going to be useful and I'm going to be productive. And so you can't get rid of me. You can't ignore me because I do so much. And guess what? They can. But it is a place where the world gets smaller and smaller and smaller, right? I mean, look at J.K. Rowling, for instance, somebody who should not be afraid of anything, right? You got so much money, hire private security and get the damn mold off your walls, lady. But her world is so small. She literally lives behind a castle wall and still does not feel safe. And that is the classic hedonistic receiver. She can't even write a book with a female lead, for God's sakes. She sees women as so passive or, helper class or support class. Like, all of her books have a male lead. It's weird. Well, it's not weird. It makes complete sense. But, with the self-hatred there. And if somebody's receive all the time, and someone else is send all the time, that's not healthy. That's not balanced. That's not good, right? And that's the thing about hedonism. It has diminishing returns. And so I do think that there is an element of glorious suffering to both, or romanticized suffering to both toxic masculinity and toxic femininity that we got into a bit in the ACOTAR discussion. About the fact that it's just, it's this weird thing in psychology where they tell you to meet your own needs. But then they say, well, humans are social creatures and we say, oh, we need touch. We need this. We need that. But we're supposed to meet our own needs. What is it, the Divinal song? I don't want anybody else, right? When I think about you, that's something different. But like, how do we meet our own needs if some needs we have must be fulfilled by other people? And that's something that psychology and the therapeutic profession never explains well. Here's how I figured it out. Okay. There are some things that long term you need to feel fulfilled. You can't always get them short term. So how do you keep your spirits up while you're working towards those long-term goals that you can't control in the short term? That's what it means, right? And for me, it's like my weird stuffed toys, right? Like, I see this, I see Mortimer, it makes me laugh. Also, somebody who's a really cool dude showed me that Mortimer exists. And so it's like that connection to somebody, that somebody understood my weirdness. I mean, Cordonis sent me a Choo Choo Charles plushie for my birthday. And that whole thing was, the Steam thing popped up and said, saw this and thought of you. And it was Choo Choo Charles. And I messaged him saying, you saw a game about a demon Giga Spider train and you thought of me. Yep. You know me well, sir. Right? And then I've got like Armin from Attack on Titan and like Slimer. And I loved Slimer as a kid. If you wonder what I made my own Slimer out of a green pillowcase as a kid. Because there were the little like plastic Slimers, but there was no life-size Slimer. And the thing I liked about Slimer is he was like yay big, right? Slimer was just amazing when I was a kid. Like, I was a kid when the original Ghostbusters came out. But, this is just my fun and my stupid and my good crazy. And everybody deserves to have their own good crazy. Like, I love it whenever somebody sheepishly mentions Warhammer 40K and then the conversation just derails for 10 minutes talking about Warhammer 40K, right? Like there's this license for women to talk about stuff like A Court of Thorn and Roses that there isn't a license for men to talk about things like Warhammer 40K. And I think in part it's like intra-sex policing, that women will be like, with ACOTAR, it's like, oh my God, like people like this reading the first book, like, oh my God, she's just wandering around the house. Keep reading, right? Because it's that last 100 pages. It's this supportive, like, yeah, we all read this trash. You know, it's the rosé and white Zinfandel. I hate those wines thing. Sweet wine and a trash book, right? And I had to learn to appreciate this because I did not have the girl group that was into this stuff until, recently. It's still very small, but it's there. And so, I mean, a huge part of the fun is going, oh my God, with your friends. Whereas I see groups of men, and it's the Joe Rogan thing. Like, video games are a waste of time. Warhammer's a waste of time. We're an adult now. We're a man. We don't do that. We work. I work all the time. Elon Musk, I'm so busy. And somehow he, wanted to be the CEO of 6 companies and be top Elden Ring player and be top Path of Exiles player, and no one believes you can do all these things. So he goes, I work all the time. And, okay, he pays people to play video games for him too, but he's in his fucking office computer playing Path of Exiles. Well, before he got kicked off. Like, let's be real, right? These guys are lying when they say they don't have something that's childlike. And I honestly believe that the childlike is very, very important to finding your center. Because everybody who's got trauma, there's a part of you that's stuck at the age of the trauma. And, for someone like me, it was, pre-verbal, but then also 11 months old, but then also 6 years old, also 9 years old, also 12 years old, then 13 years old, then 15 years old, then 16 years old, then 19 years old, then there was a lot of CPTSD, okay? And so at that point, you gotta kind of go, fuck it. There's no rebuilding that shit. We're gonna wipe it all, and we're gonna start again. So one of the things I did is when I finally started making my own money working in television, I bought every fucking toy I either couldn't afford as a kid or wasn't allowed to have as a kid, or both. And so I bought a shit ton of He-Man and Thundercats. Because not only did we not have a ton of money and I wasn't getting Castle Grayskull, it was too expensive, but even the basic figures that weren't that expensive, nobody would get it from me because it was a boy's toy. The compromises were Gem and the Holograms, My Little Pony, and Oodles, those creepy naked baby plastic things. Now, in the privacy of my parents' basement, it was a parent's basement, the Oodles became like a zombie army. And then the My Little Pony, and it was always the Pegasus ponies and the unicorns, because the unicorns could stab things. The Pegasus could fly, right? So they were like the siege engines. And then Gem and the Holograms were these giants with their doll stands became like hovercraft, like Wile E. Kit and Wile E. Cat. And their instruments became pew-pew lasers. So I was making like the armies of Nurgle with Gem and the Holograms, My Little Pony, and Oodles, right? You cannot stop the signal with a kid's imagination and what a kid likes. And I do think that a lot of people got their spirit crushed as kids. And you can spend decades in therapy trying to do that over, trying to heal it, trying to fix it. And in my case, you can't. You just gotta go, fuck it. I didn't get the good childhood, right? I got some fucked up RPG origin story, right? Like the stuff in Trails in the Sky. Like, here, Estelle, I got you a dead boy as a gift. That's seriously how Joshua gets introduced to Trails in the Sky. And it's so cool to play those Japanese games where, like, everybody in Western RPGs is, like, kind of idealized. Like, oh, they're the best at something, or this, that, the next thing. And no, Scheherazad's a big-time drunk. Like, they say she's, like, oh, she's had her 3rd bottle of wine at the bar. Like, 3 bottles of wine? Wow! Like, they're human. I won't even say they're flawed. There's sort of a tragedy about all of that makes them kind of more like, and it's like, cool, they usually show guys as drinking like fishes. They rarely show women as drinking like fishes. I really, really like that, right? Because that's considered not feminine, you know? Oh, she's sloppy drunk. Like, there's plenty of drunk girls out there, and I worry about them. But, you know, it's not shown in Western media the same way. And I mean, it's not the Japanese society is superior. It's the Japanese society has a hell of a lot more repression for their media to rage against. Talk about a country with rigid gender norms, right? I mean, that's why birth rates in so many Asian countries are plummeting. Everybody's sick of that shit. They're tired of just being producers. They're of both offspring and goods, right? They want more than that. They want lives. They want friends. They want disposable income. Shockingly, they want what all people want. And I do think that to stop thinking of ourselves as game pieces, to stop thinking of ourselves as objects or as producers and consumers. And I mean, ancient myths talk all the time about human beings being more than producers and consumers. There's a sublime, there's the need to connect to something bigger than us, something higher than us, but also a legitimate inner spirit. You want to call it a soul, you want to call it a divine spark, call it what you want, but it's real. You know, you just look at me and where I came from. It doesn't make any sense. You know, my parents tried so hard to program me away from the stuff I liked. And all that meant is I stopped telling them shit. I just hid everything from them, which is why, you know, this is hard to say. Wow. Okay. Instant emotional pop. Me coming here and saying, you know, yeah, it's been tough. I've been struggling, like not horribly, but it's been a rough go. I've gotten triggered a lot, and, you know, stuffing that spaghetti back in the whatever you want to call it, has been a challenge. My guts are spilled out. I'm trying to put them back in, and some people are helping and some people aren't. And, you know, I'm grateful for the people that help. The people that didn't can fuck right off. And the people who knowingly added to it, those are the ones that it's just, I get angry at them and then I pity them because that's probably the smartest thing. But that's a big step because my safety was what people didn't know about me, right? If I didn't say what I liked, no one could shit on it. If I didn't show interest in something, nobody could take it away. And so even though it's scary, even though it's anxiety inducing, even though it feels unpleasantly vulnerable, coming out here and talking about it is important, because I can't tell guys, hey, show your feelings more and meet your emotional needs if I'm secretly doing everything I'm telling guys to step away from. That's not fair. You know, I have to be an example of the sort of behavior that I'm suggesting I gotta walk the walk. And you'll notice that I'm not a mess. It's not dramatic. It's just like, yeah, shit's been shit. And it's really, really interesting to me that the vast majority of people who have asked me, I've been seeing what's going on, are you okay, are men. And I mean, I think that's really cool, right? And so I don't say I'm fine and lie. I say, I'm managing, but yeah, it's been fucked. Because, and that's the other side, right? That when you don't want to be that hedonistic receiver, you got to be careful not to be the hedonistic sender and be incapable of receiving. When someone is offering that, it is a gift. Accept the gift. Say thank you, right? And that's another thing I think that is so hard for guys because receiving is treated as feminine, and it is not. Wide receiver in football, right? Wasn't Kendrick Lamar's halftime show awesome? I won't get on that again. But it is hard to accept not even help, but even just people giving a shit. It's hard to trust it when you've been screwed so many goddamn times by people you let get close. I get it. The risk, the bravery is worth it. Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is an opportunity to be brave. I truly believe that. And if, I've found that most people are coming at you totally straight. Not sexually, just, yeah. And the ones that don't, that's on them. You can set enough boundaries that, yeah, they'll fuck you over. Yeah, they'll cause problems. Yeah, they'll lie about you. But you know what? Life goes on. I've rebuilt myself so many fucking times at this point. It's like, what's one more? Whoopee! I mean, how many fucking countries is Wolverine? Canada, US, Canada, Japan, whatever the fuck that other shit was. Krakoa, fucking, what's the other fucking island? Genosha. Like, fuck. Dust yourself off and try again. Right? We can do it. We can do it. So, yeah. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for being cool about that video. I really, really appreciate it. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. We have cool conversations about stuff like this. Coffee.com/Leanna K. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.